ready with covering, but that covering meets you on the road, not the couch. They're not here to micromanage you. They're watching to see if your next step matches the truth you already suspect. Ask yourself, if this hour really is rare, what would your courage choose? Different on purpose. You've always known you don't process life like everyone else. You read rooms beneath the surface. You notice what others skip. That sensitivity wasn't punishment, it was training. Hard seasons didn't make you defective, they made you durable. Every heartbreak that didn't break you was a workshop in disguise, shaping a steadier you. Your story wasn't random debris tossed by fate. It was curated, seen, tracked, remembered. If the past has felt like a labyrinth, know that someone held the thread. Your tears didn't fall into emptiness. They watered roots for where you're going next. Maybe no one else saw the pattern, but you're starting to. You can feel the future reaching for you, like a hand through fog. If your difference ever felt like exile, let it become assignment. Your life doesn't need to imitate anyone's path to be faithful to its own map. The gathering thread. Look back gently. Can you see how the quiet moments kept gathering you? The laughter that felt hollow, winds that tasted thin, the silence that made you shift in your seat. Those were not malfunctions, they were breadcrumbs. Little nudges saying, there's more. Sometimes guidance arrives like thunder, but often it knocks softly, so you don't miss your life in the noise. Today the knocking is louder. The message is clearer. The urgency isn't panic, it's precision. Think of a train pulling into the station at the exact minute printed on your ticket. You're not late, but you're not early either. This is the platform. You don't need to drag yesterday aboard. Travel light. What if everything that felt incomplete was simply an arrow forward? What if the emptiness you resented was making room? If the call now feels undeniable, it's because you're finally close enough to hear it. The choice within. Every turning point hides in a simple decision: step or stall. No marketing, no glitter, just a hinge that opens or closes. You already know what avoidance sounds like in your own head. Later, when it's calmer, when you're stronger, when they approve. But feel your body right now. That warmth rising, that inner movement. Notice how it's not fear. It's recognition. Your spirit knows the timing even when your plans don't. This is the hour your deeper self has been practicing for in whispers and almosts. The mind wants more proof. The soul wants alignment. Ask the honest questions. If not now, when? If not me, who? If not this, what exactly am I waiting for? Don't promise the universe a perfect performance. Promise a genuine yes. The door doesn't require polish to open. It requires consent. Let your next breath belong to the path ahead. The thin place. Some moments feel like the wall between seen and unseen goes transparent. This is one of them. You don't have to force anything, just refuse to drift. Even hesitations matter here, not to shame you, but because decisions ripple outward. Your life was never designed for background mode. You weren't meant to orbit truth, almost aligning with it, almost trusting it. You were made to live fully lit, not half dimmed to keep everyone comfortable. Picture your influence like concentric circles on water. Your choice now touches shores you haven't visited yet. That's why presence is everything. When you stand where you truly are, you become precise. When you agree with what's real, you become weighty in the best sense. Let the thin place become a clear place. Let reverence replace rush. Answer simply and sincerely, I'm here. I'm listening. I will not waste this hour. Made to confront the night. There's a reason resistance got louder as you neared clarity. Your life throws light. You disrupt shadows just by standing upright in your true name. That's why the blueprint matters, and why protection activates when you walk, not merely when you want. Think of a streetlight that turns on as you pass beneath it. The path illuminates under motion. You don't need grand gestures to begin. Start with fidelity to the next right thing. The call, the apology, the boundary, the yes. When you step, hidden corners become visible, and visibility makes old threats small. Don't misinterpret your discomfort. It's often the friction of chains loosening. The light you carry doesn't shame people, it reveals options. If someone pulls away, bless them. If something breaks, let it. You're not here to perform bravery. You're here to embody it, one honest step at a time. The long pursuit. Consider the history of your nudges, the uncanny coincidences, the late-night clarity, the presence you couldn't explain. That was pursuit, not pressure. Set apart doesn't mean superior, it means summoned. And summons arrive repeatedly, not to harass you, but to outlast your distractions. Life's noise tried to sand down your edges, to convince you that normalcy was safety. It's not. Sometimes the most dangerous place is the comfortable one that drains your hunger. You were guarded from certain detours, yes, even from your own impulses, so you'd make it here intact. If the call felt buried under obligations, that's because obligations multiply when meaning is missing. Let the memory of earlier stirrings be a kindness to you, not a condemnation. You weren't ignoring destiny, you were learning to distinguish it. The point is not how many times you missed the whisper, but that you're hearing it now. Grace with edges. Grace is generous, but it isn't endless. It has contours like a shoreline, welcoming, real, and not to be mocked. Later is a seductive myth, delay disguised as discernment. The truth? Willingness wears down when it isn't used. That's why the tone changes here. This isn't a soft suggestion. It's a call that expects an answer. Not a performance, an answer. Think of signing your name to a covenant you already believe in. Think of setting a date rather than dreaming about someday. Promise yourself you won't keep circling the runway because the sky is unfamiliar. The same courage that survived your storms can carry you through this takeoff. Say it plainly, I choose the life that's mine to live. Then act in proportion to that sentence. Grace meets momentum. And momentum, once born, will carry you farther than resolve ever could. The purpose awaits your yes. There is a design over your life that isn't waiting to be built, it's waiting to be lived. It's not half-finished blueprints scattered on a desk. It's a completed map that only unlocks when you give your yes. Too often we imagine purpose as something we have to invent. But what if it's already present, patiently folded inside you? The yes is not about earning worth. It's about aligning with what was planted long ago. Think about the moments you glimpsed who you could be, the flashes of clarity that felt too big to explain. Those weren't daydreams. They were previews of the life meant for you. And now, as you stand at this crossroad, you're not asked for perfection, only consent. Will you step into the person you were always intended to be? Sometimes the most radical act of courage is simply saying yes. The spark of clear seeing. You may have thought your sensitivity was a flaw, the way you feel things too deeply, the way silence cuts sharper than noise. But that is not weakness, it's sight. What others dismiss as too much is actually your path to what's real. The dark voices call it fragility. I call it vision. Clear seeing isn't about predicting the future. It's about perceiving truth in the present. You recognize dishonesty when others are fooled. You sense shifts long before they surface. That is a gift, not a liability. Think of it as spiritual night vision, the ability to notice light even in the darkest places. The reason it has felt heavy is because you've carried it alone, unsure if it mattered. But today, let this truth sink in. Your clarity is not random. Is your compass. And the spark you've been guarding is meant to burn brighter now. The window of favor. There are seasons when the air feels charged, when opportunities appear fragile but immense. This is one of those seasons, a window of favor. It's not endless. It's not casual. It's an opening that expects recognition. The choice you make now will not only shape your life, but ripple into lives you haven't even met yet. Think about that. A decision in the quiet of your room could affect generations. Too often we imagine our lives as self-contained, but every yes or no creates echoes in unseen places. Favor isn't just about blessing, it's about responsibility. The door is wide, but it won't stay wide forever. You've been prepared for this time, not to live unnoticed, but to step into a story bigger than you. And that story begins the moment you acknowledge the gravity of your choice. This window is here. Will you walk through it? Grace with boundaries. Grace is beautiful, but it's not indefinite. It holds boundaries, not because love runs out, but because love respects timing. Imagine standing at a shoreline. There's plenty of space to play in the sand, but you can't command the tide to wait. Right now you're standing in a hallowed stillness where outcomes are suspended, awaiting your choice. One voice whispers, stay safe, stay small. Another urges, step forth, this is your hour. This tug of war is not about comfort, it's about destiny. If you continually choose delay, grace doesn't disappear, but shifts into witness. It becomes a testimony that the moment came and you walked away. But today the invitation is still alive. The question is simple. Will you let safety define your story, or will you let courage rewrite it? The clock of grace is gentle, but it is ticking. What will you do with it? Don't miss the moment. Life rarely announces its turning points with fanfare. More often, they arrive like a quiet knock, easy to overlook, easier to postpone. But this moment is not one to dismiss. The voice is clear. Will you acknowledge me this time? If you delay, you risk losing the chance altogether. Opportunities like this don't circle back indefinitely. Responding now is not about drama, it's about trust. Think of it as signing a covenant with your future, a solemn promise to align with who you were made to be. The weight you feel is not pressure, it's sacredness. It's the recognition that what you do here matters beyond you. And isn't that what we long for? To know our choices matter? To know our steps ripple into eternity? Don't wait for certainty. Waiting won't erase the risk. It will only erase the moment. Say yes before silence becomes regret. The subtle drift. Not every detour announces itself with alarms. Sometimes it's quiet, soft whispers that tell you to rest just a little longer, to put off your calling until tomorrow. They promise you plenty of time, but in truth, delay becomes habit. The shadow doesn't always roar at lulls. It tells you that compromise is wisdom, that distraction is harmless, that drifting is the same as waiting. But deceptive stillness is not peace. It's erosion. It slowly dulls your inner fire until you forget what warmth felt like. Have you ever realized months or years passed without moving closer to what you knew mattered? That is how subtle drift wins. Not by attacking head-on, but by persuading you to settle. Don't mistake ease for alignment. Real peace energizes, it doesn't numb. The call today is simple. Wake up. Refuse the drift. Don't let later become the thief of your light. Sacred separation. To step fully into your reason for being, you must clear space. Purpose doesn't bloom in overcrowded soil. That's why there's a call now to sacred separation, not isolation, but clarity. It means closing the doors that let noise flood your mind. It means refusing to let approval, stability, or good enough take the throne meant for the sacred. Sometimes the hardest idols to dismantle are not golden statues, but the subtle comforts we clutch. Wanting everyone's acceptance, wanting life to remain predictable, wanting convenience over growth. But those placeholders steal the spot reserved for presence. Think about it. When was the last time you truly sat still enough to feel what was real beneath the surface noise? This isn't about rejecting people or life. It's about choosing alignment. Clear away the clutter. Withdraw into stillness. Because only in the uncluttered heart does purpose become unmistakable. Not perfection, just choice. Maybe you think you need to fix yourself first to polish the rough edges before you can answer. But hear this, you are not being asked for perfection, only for choice. The blueprint of your life doesn't demand flawlessness, it demands willingness. When you turn your attention toward what's real, clarity begins to rise like dawn. The very act of choosing opens the curtain to reveal what was already waiting. And yes, opposition will come. That's why the distractions have been so relentless, because darkness fears exposure. It exhausts, entangles, and distracts precisely to keep you from stepping into light. But the good news is this: you don't need to have it all together to begin. You only need to begin. Courage grows in motion, not in theory. So drop the idea of perfect timing. Say yes now, and let purpose show itself in the living, not the waiting. The widespread awakening. Look around. Something ancient is unfolding in ordinary places. People are waking up on subways and in checkout lines, during commutes and quiet walks. The sense is shared. This is the time. Prophets once spoke of days like these, not a blaze of spectacle, but a steady ignition of hearts across the map. Yet none of those voices could occupy your exact coordinates. Your role is not a generic slot in a grand machine. It's a particular thread that, if missing, leaves the tapestry thinner. Maybe that's why your challenges have felt custom-made, why even in calm seasons there was a hum of incompleteness. It wasn't drama, it was alignment waiting. You are not late, you're right on time to your appointment. And while others rise beside you, your path remains distinct. Your language, your scars, your courage, your way of carrying light. Don't compare flames, tend yours. Don't chase their calling, answer yours. The point isn't to be louder, it's to be true. The world doesn't need a copy of anyone else. It needs the unrepeatable cadence of your yes. Consent and calling. The future doesn't download automatically. It requires consent, your conscious agreement with what is real. Grace equips you, but duty activates you. Think of grace as fuel already in the tank. Duty is the decision to drive. Clarity rarely shouts. It guides, subtle, steady, like a compass that refuses to lie. When you follow it, conflicting voices grow quieter, not because they vanish, but because truth becomes weightier than noise. Sit with this question: what would faithfulness look like by Tuesday? Not someday, Tuesday. The difference between drift and destiny is usually a calendar. Sign your name to something small but holy. Send the message. Cancel the compromise. Begin the habit that reshapes a year. Your agreement won't make you flawless, it will make you aligned. And alignment changes everything. How you spend attention, how you choose companions, how you weigh opportunities. Refuse the myth that you must be certain to begin. Consent isn't the end of questions, it's the end of postponement. Let your yes be practical enough to schedule and brave enough to cost you a comfort you don't want to keep. Now means now. Do not let this hour slide by dressed as routine. Don't allow this time to slip away isn't a slogan, it's a safeguard. The truth of why you're here is ready to be shown, not theory but revelation under your feet as you move. And yes, there are presences near you, not by chance, one bearing your path, one bearing your protection. They aren't ornaments, They are assignments waiting for cooperation. Ask yourself, what would change if I treated today as sacred ground? Maybe you would speak with more care, listen with more depth, decline what dilutes you. Maybe you would interrupt a pattern, your own. Opportunity is often disguised as a decision nobody can make for you. Courage won't arrive like lightning. It arrives like a sentence. I'll start now. Then you do the next faithful thing, and the road brightens half a step at a time. Don't rehearse the journey in your head while the day expires. Walk it. Heaven marks these pivots, not the fantasies we never tried, but the choices we finally made. The two who wait. Picture two faithful attendants at your threshold. One holds the scroll, the path, the truth of why you exist, kept safe through your detours and doubts. The other carries provisions, wisdom, strength, timely shelter. They are not passive, they are poised. But they cannot proceed without your yes, because protection in this story isn't a bubble, it's a partnership. It activates as you walk. Hearts that say yes set holy machinery in motion. Doors that were rusted begin to unstuck. Alliances that were hidden step into view. The timing that felt closed suddenly coheres. Don't bargain for certainty. Agree to companionship. Choose nearness over numbness. That yes may be quiet, a prayer in a parked car, a line in a journal, a whispered surrender before a difficult call. Heaven hears it just the same. And when you move, watch how the path responds, not by removing every obstacle, but by right-sizing them. Fear shrinks when meaning grows. Protection feels like presence, not insulation. Start, and you'll discover you are more carried than you knew. What yes changes? Saying yes doesn't make life easier, it makes life clearer. The fog thins, the noise organizes. Inside, you will feel something shift, not fireworks, but an honest stillness you don't have to earn. That's change at the core. With it comes pushback, because inertia defends its territory. Expect resistance, not as a sign you're wrong, but as a sign you've moved. Remember, help is not hypothetical. It arrives in order. Holy action follows holy structure. Step, then strength. Ask, then answer. Knock, then open. Practice this rhythm in small things until it becomes your posture. When opposition rises, don't romanticize the struggle or dramatize the threat. Do the next faithful thing. Repeat. You will notice new stamina where panic used to live. You will measure days by integrity, not intensity. The point of yes is not endless warfare. It's alignment that makes you harder to move than your circumstances. Peace becomes your gravity. Purpose becomes your pace. And even when the wind howls, your inner weather holds. Breaking old ties. There are patterns older than your memory. Family scripts, private vows, quiet fears that taught darkness how to find a way in. You don't break them by clenching harder. You break them by stepping into the truth of why you were made. Purpose is a solvent. It dissolves the glue of old agreements. Watch how certain appetites lose their authority when you begin to walk aligned. Watch how shame loses volume when you no longer need to manage you. Closing doors isn't rage, it's reverence. Some rooms must be sealed, not because you despise your past, but because you honor your future. Do this with tenderness. Bless what brought you this far, then bless it to remain behind. Replace the reflex of self-critique with the habit of self-stewardship. You're not performing worthiness, you're protecting it. The truth of your design is not an idea, it's a key. Turn it and watch the house air out. Old ghosts hate fresh windows. From surviving to stewarding. What you endured was never a verdict, it was a forge. The heat didn't ruin you, it revealed you. Losses that felt like subtraction were, at a deeper level, chisels, making space for what could not coexist with the smaller version of you. That's why certain ties loosened. Mercy sometimes arrives disguised as separation. And now, notice how you've changed. Your strength is quieter, your discernment sharper, your thresholds cleaner. You're moving from carrying pain to carrying influence, the kind that doesn't shout but steadies rooms and mends fault lines. Steward this shift. Build rhythms that guard what you've gained. Honest rest, real friendships, work that matches your values. Draw boundaries without apology, generosity without self-erasure. You are not obligated to return to the versions of you that others prefer. You are entrusted with the version that light prefers. And from this place, your yes multiplies into households, teams, cities. Not survival, stewardship, not frantic striving, faithful presence. This is how a life becomes an answer.